The complex and long-lasting territorial dispute between two states is a ticking time bomb that can explode any time.
They are going to fight any damn way. They really are. They're going to do their thing, and we can't do a damn thing about it. And this is about the Gaza Strip. This video presents the history of Israel-Palestine conflict that rooted a few thousand years ago. It started a few thousand years ago. This right here it's imperative that we do have some information, some backstory to try to figure out what's going on. History of Israel-Palestine conflict.
Israel, the world's only Jewish state, located east of the Mediterranean Sea, and Palestine, the territory of the Arab population that hails from the Israel-controlled land, have long been known for their enduring conflict with the Israeli occupation of the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. The tension between Israel and Palestine has been deteriorating in years, climaxing with many violent clashes between the two sides. To understand the root of the Israel-Palestine conflict, we have to look back a few thousand years ago. Early history of Israeli-Palestinian conflict. In the 17 centuries BC, following the call of God, three patriarchs of the Jewish people, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, settled in Canaan, a region approximating present-day Israel, the West Bank, and the Gaza Strip.
Israel, Isaac, and Jacob settled 1700 BC. All of this information is pretty much backed up by the Bible. This is backed up by the Bible. Is that this source? Okay, cool.
In the 17 centuries BC, following the call of God, three patriarchs of the Jewish people, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, settled in Canaan, a region approximating present-day Israel, the West Bank, and the Gaza Strip, parts of Lebanon, Syria, and Jordan. The region later had the name the Land of Israel, the Promised Land, the Palestine region, or the Holy Land.
So Israel was first. So far, Israel win. All right? So far, Israel wins. Okay? Because they was there first. Let's continue.
In 1000 BC, King Saul established the Israelite monarchy, which then was ruled by King David, who made Jerusalem the capital of his kingdom, and his son King Solomon, who built the first temple in Jerusalem. After the death of King Solomon, the United Monarchy was split into the Kingdom of Israel in the north, with Samaria as the capital, and the Kingdom of Judah in the south.
So when people go there, all of this stuff, they just confirming it. They just looking at this stuff like, wow, all of these things actually happen. According to the Bible, this stuff actually is there. It was here. The history of it all, the remnants of the people and what was created was all here. All right, so we're following along.
With Jerusalem as the capital, the land became home to a majority of Jews, but then it was subject to numerous conquests of various groups, leading to the significant decrease of the Jewish population on the land.
So a lot of people started to come to Kingdom of Judah and the Kingdom of Israel, and I guess the Jews didn't like that too much, so they left.
One of these conquests was conducted by the Roman Empire, who gave the name Palestine to Judah, intending to break the Jewish connection with the land of Israel.
So the Roman Empire decided to just bully their way over there and just name it whatever the hell they wanted to name it. Why did they have the power to do that? What did they do in order to be able to change the name from Judah to Palestine? What? See, this is the thing. When it comes to war, man, you can do whatever the hell you want to do. As long as you got the people in the power, you run things, man. See, that's why I don't try to,
During this time, Christianity, which started as a Jewish sect, ultimately became a dominant religion toward the end of the Roman Empire. In the 7th century came an Arab conquest, beginning the spread of Islam. The Dome of the Rock was built on the ruin of the Second Temple, making Jerusalem the holy city to three monotheistic religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam.
But it's not telling me why. It's so much missing in this. It's so much is just popping up. Okay, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then all the Jews left, and then everybody was Christian, and now everybody Muslim, and now you got, come on, bruh. This right here leaves so much out.
After Christians in Jerusalem were intensely persecuted by the Seljuk Turks, a Central Asian empire with ambition to expand its territory, Christians in Europe launched several crusades to bring the holy city back to the hand of the Christians. During this time, many Jews were killed. Others were making pilgrimages everywhere, mostly in Western Europe. From the 16th century to World War I, the Holy Land, along with much of the Middle East, was ruled by the Ottoman Empire, an Islamic superpower.
So the Islamic superpower, the Ottoman Empire, ruled all of that for 4 centuries. 4 centuries.
Land was unofficially called Palestine.
So, listen, the Ottoman Empire ran everything for 4 centuries, and they named some of it Palestine.
An Islamic superpower. The land was unofficially called Palestine.
Unofficially called Palestine. I haven't heard anything about Israel in a long daggone time.
At the same time in Europe, more and more Jews were joining a movement called Zionism, aiming to create a Jewish national state in its ancient homeland. Hence, in the first decade of the 20th century, tens of thousands of Jews moved from Europe back to the region.
So they were in Europe for a minute, and now they moved back to what's now called Palestine. So the Jews moved to Palestine, right? Okay.
Israel and Palestine under the British rule. World War I exploded and ended with the collapse of the Ottoman Empire. Its land in the Middle East was carved by the British and French empires. The British then gave more independence for Iraq and Jordan, and the region remaining under the control of Britain was what it called the British Mandate for Palestine, where Britain promised to establish a Jewish national homeland under its Balfour Declaration, which went into effect in 1923.
How come the British owned so much? Like they was just were they the first superpower? Were they like the first superpower? Because they ran stuff, man. They was wiping stuff off the map, doing whatever the hell they wanted to do.
Tensions between the Jews and the Arabs who both claimed the land grew, which even led to acts of violence. By the 1930s, following the increasing Jewish population in Palestine due to the fear of persecution during the Nazi reign in Germany, the British limited Jewish immigration. In response, the Jewish militias formed to both fight the Arabs and resist the British rule. Then came the Holocaust throughout Nazi Germany, which claimed almost 6 million Jewish lives. After the war,
Wow. So Germany got real nasty with it. Sheesh, they just started killing all the Jews.
more and more Jews then fled from Europe to Palestine to seek a homeland, escalating the tension with the Arabs. Overwhelmed by the situation, Britain began to withdraw from the region.
So Britain lost control because at first they put a cap on how many Jews could come there. But after the Holocaust and a lot of Jews started coming back to Palestine, they ran Britain up out of there. So now the Jews were starting to build up in numbers as they went against the Muslims who were already in Palestine.
The birth of the Israel state. After World War II, the UN proposed a plan to partition Palestine into 2 independent states, a Jewish state and an Arab state, with the city of Jerusalem becoming an international zone with a special status. However, the plan according to which the Jewish, accounting for only 1/3 of the population, was granted more territory, 56.5% of the land, was rejected by the Arabs. They began to form volunteer armies throughout Palestine. Less than 1 year after that, as Britain completed its withdrawal from Palestine, Israel declared itself an independent state, marking a new, bloodier chapter in the struggle between the Jews and the Palestinian Arabs.
So the Israels started to really whoop some ass, especially when the Brits got up out of there.
The 1948 Arab-Israeli War. Right after the announcement of an independent Israel, a war between the Arabs and the Jews broke out, which was known as the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. The war involved 5 recently independent Arab nations: Egypt, Jordan, Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon, the Arab League, who invaded the region in an attempt to establish a unified Arab Palestine. However, a ceasefire agreement was reached a year later in which more than 2/3 of historic Palestine, including the West Jerusalem, belonged to Israel, while Jordan occupied East Jerusalem and the area known as the West Bank, and Egypt occupied the Gaza Strip. As a result, more than 750,000 Palestinians were expelled from the land where they lived for centuries on the day that they call Al-Nakba.
And that's one of the things that they bring up, that they were expelled from their homes back in the 1940s, 750,000. All right. So now they're starting to be expelled. See, at first it was the Israel Jews that were being kicked out and sent all over these places and killed by the millions. But now it's the Palestinians that are being kicked out by almost 1 million, 750,000.
Or the catastrophe. With the deteriorated dispute between the Jews and the Arabs, there came more wars and fighting in the following decades. The 60-Day War. It was in 1967 when the 60-Day War broke out after a volatile period of diplomatic friction and skirmishes between Israel and its neighboring Arab states, Jordan, Syria, and Egypt. This brief war ended with the victory of Israel, giving Israel control over the Golan Heights from Syria, the West Bank and East Jerusalem from Jordan, and Gaza and the Sinai Peninsula from Egypt. Sinai was later returned to Egypt under the Egypt-Israel Peace Treaty. After the war, most Palestinian refugees and their descendants were not allowed to return to their homes, but had to live in Gaza, the West Bank, and neighboring Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon. The First Intifada and the Oslo Accords. The rising number of Israelis settling in the Palestinian territories in the West Bank and Gaza gave rise to the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, first founded in Cairo, Egypt in 1964 to create a liberated Palestine in Israel. The PLO launched attacks on Israel from its base in Jordan. It was then forced to move from Jordan to Lebanon, starting to carry out acts of terrorism against Israel.
So Palestinians they saw that a whole bunch of Israelis were moving back there, and a bunch of Jews were moving back to Israel. So they established a crew, and they decided to start bombing them, and then they got ran off to Lebanon. This is a lot, bro.
Fighting went on for years, including the Israeli invasion of Lebanon to kick the PLO out of Beirut.
And then the Israel people, they started going back at them. I'm not seeing any one-sided bullying going on. I'm really not seeing that.
The PLO eventually agreed to divide the land between Palestine and Israel, but there were still more and more Jewish settlers moved into the Israel-occupied Palestinian territories. In 1987, a violent Palestinian uprising was ignited, starting from the Jabalia refugee camp after an Israeli Defense Forces truck collided with two Palestinian civilian vans, 4 of them. This was known as the First Intifada. This bloody conflict, resulting in hundreds of deaths, triggered a peace process with the signing of the Oslo Accords by Israel and the PLO. The Oslo I Accord signed in Washington, D.C., and the Oslo II Accord in Taba, Egypt. According to the Oslo Accords, the West Bank was divided into 3 areas. Area A was exclusively controlled by the Palestinians. Area B was controlled by both the Palestinians and Israel. Area C was fully controlled by Israel.
Why though? When they were all mixed up, that makes no sense. Why would they give them all them different regions that was completely broken up? There's nothing that completely separates their space, and they've already had years and years and years, centuries of friction. Why? How does this make sense? Who came up with this?
Area C was fully controlled by Israel. The Second Intifada. Though further peace talks continued in 2000, the Israelis and Palestinians could not reach agreements on issues like the status of Jerusalem, rights of refugees, and the increased Jewish settlement in Palestinian lands. Ariel Sharon, a Jewish Israeli who would later become Israel's prime minister, visited the Temple Mount, home to the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. The action was deemed offensive by many Palestinians, and the Second Intifada broke out. The violence ended with Israel's withdrawal from Gaza, but continued to settle in the West Bank. Israel conflict with Hamas. Hamas is a Sunni Islamist militant group aiming to destroy the state of Israel and create an Islamic state. After the armed conflict between Hamas and Fatah, who managed the PLO, Hamas split from the Palestinian Authority and gained power in the Gaza. Israel put Gaza under a suffocating blockade.
So when the Hamas started to try to bully their way with everyone, even Palestine, it seems, then they were blocked off and starved. Like all of their resources was cut off at this point. This is the Hamas, not Palestine, but the Hamas.
Leading to several bloody wars between the two groups in the Gaza Strip, including Operation Cast Lead, Operation Pillar of Defense, and Operation Protective Edge. In 2014, Hamas and Fatah reached agreement to form a national unity government. In 2018, the U.S. Embassy was relocated from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, which was deemed by the Palestinians as a signal of American support for Jerusalem as Israel's capital. 2021, the conflict between Israel and Palestine was reassumed by a series of hostile events in East Jerusalem, leading to several acts of violence until a ceasefire deal brokered by Egypt, Qatar, and the United Nations came into effect on May 21st. Peaceful though it may seem now, the complex and long-lasting territorial dispute between two states is a ticking time bomb that can explode any time.
Here's what I've come away with after seeing that. The United States need to mind our damn business. We need to leave Israel and Jerusalem and Palestine and Hamas, all of them, alone and mind our damn business. That's it. That's what I've walked away with. They've been fighting for this long. They're going to continue to fight. It's not going to get better. They've been hating themselves, hating one another for the longest. Israel get attacked, they move and they come back. Palestinians get attacked, they move and they come back. The Hamas get there and they start trying to bully everyone. And it goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. We're going to continue to get intelligence from Israel. We're going to continue to get every single thing we were getting from them before, especially if we're providing them with funding. We're giving them funding. We're giving everybody else funding. Everybody, the United States got money. No, we don't. But apparently we're making it look that way. Listen, let me tell you something. We need to mind our business. They are going to fight any damn way. They really are. They're going to do their thing and we can't do a damn thing about it. We out here debating and pissed off and protesting, kids protesting at their schools. Let them protest. No, we need to not get involved. How long have we been giving them money? How long have we been giving them money? That's what I want to know. How long have we been giving these people money? And then on top of that, how long have we been getting physically involved? How long have we been getting physically involved, like helping them fight either side? Because at some point, we're funding both sides. We've been giving them money forever. We don't get involved with the fighting part. Listen, we can stop giving them money and stop taking either side, but we can also just let them do what the hell they want to do. They clearly hate each other. Let them fight. Let them kill each other. They hate each other. What we going to do? We can't do a damn thing. In that whole scheme of things, I have not seen how the United States positively affect anybody. I've seen how the United States moved our embassy into Jerusalem, but that's it. That's it. The United States are not involved. We need to mind our damn business.